Hey guys, I'm going to do a couple of video lectures for you while we're out of class. Hopefully it won't last that long. I'm not sure what's going to happen, to tell you the truth. You kind of hear things when I do. But we're going to start your video lecture series. Hopefully we only have to do a few of them, but I have set up a little crude home studio here. Forgive the quality, and this isn't really my thing to not have little bodies in front of me. But at any rate, we're going to go over chapter 6, and what we're going to do, I'm going to try to keep it as close to your format that you have in class as I do on this video. So what we'll do, how I normally do it, is I talk to you guys about some concepts, we work some exercises, then we go back to talk a little bit more. So that's what we're going to do. I've had some trouble. I have recorded this a couple of times, and the files have always been too big. So I'm going to have to break it up a little bit into 2 or 3 files so it's not too big and I can get it loaded for you. So if you'll turn in your books to chapter 6, and it starts on page 292, we'll start the lecture. So what I'll do is I'll pause about 10 seconds when I get to an exercise. You all can pause it. For right now, I think I told you in an email, just write it in your book or on a separate sheet of paper, and I'll check it when we get back. If we find out this is going to extend a little longer than we thought, then I will have some online options for you to do the exercises so I can make sure that you get what we're talking about. So let's take a look at chapter 6, Patterns of Organization. Okay, let's take a look. Did you know that the human brain likes patterns? It looks for patterns. It will try to make a pattern out of anything that it sees, because your brain naturally likes to organize. So knowing a pattern of organization in what an author is writing for you to read is very, very important to your comprehension. When our brain sees something is incomplete, it works to complete it. I told you, I think, in class about the Terminator movie, where we see the very first one, where we see the, whatever you call Arnold's character, have to cut his eye out. You saw the knife go up to his eye, and then you saw the lens fall into the sink. You don't see a lot of things in the movies. I believe I told you that the movies do this quite a bit. And you fill in those details. It saves a lot of money when someone's trying to make a movie, and your mind goes ahead and fills in that pattern, because you pretty much know what's going on from past experience. And each repetition grows our brain's connections. Remember, the more connections you have in your brain, the better you can think, the better you can process. And the only way you grow these new connections is for you to learn something new. Okay? Okay, I don't know why that isn't all the way underlined, but pattern of organization, it should be all the way underlined, and you know what that means, is the presentation, plan, format, or structure of a message. It tells you through transitions and the way it puts together a piece what the author is trying to get you to do, think, or believe. Patterns serve as a blueprint. I know you probably have in classes, either in your writing classes or some other classes, where you have to do an outline. What an outline is a blueprint for you to write something. If you have an outline, you have a blueprint for writing something in a much better way than you would if you did not have that outline. So that's what patterns are. The author in the book, if you look in your book, remember when we do the previews and we look at the headings and we look at the pictures and we look at the subheadings, all of those are indicators of what your pattern is going to be, and it gives what you're reading structure. Details can be overwhelming. That's why some of you have information overload and you just really get wound out and say, oh, remember what I told you. You can't swallow a whole pizza. What do you have to do? You have to cut it into slices. And that's where this comes in. If you can put it into a pattern and identify what's coming up, you're going to be in a lot better shape when you talk about your patterns of organization. Transitional words, we've talked about them. They're also called signal words. They connect parts of sentences or whole sentences and let the reader know what's coming. And there are a number of these we're going to talk about. They're all laid out in your book, so it'll be easy for you to understand them and see what we're doing. Words that signal addition. Here's an obvious one. In addition. Moreover, also, furthermore, and, another. All of those words tell you that something similar to what you've been talking about is coming. So those are words that signal addition. Words that signal examples or illustrations. For example, for instance, to illustrate, such as, those types of things. Let's look at the example. We didn't look. Let's look at the example on the addition words on the bottom of page 292. After causing a disturbance in the movie theater, Brian and his friends were asked to leave. Furthermore, there's your word, they were barred from attending that theater ever again. So that shows you that something similar is coming up. As far as examples or illustrations, look at the example on the top of 293. Follow along with me. This will help you. Traffic seems to be getting heavier. For instance, last year it took only 20 minutes to get to school. Now it takes 30 minutes. It's giving you an example of why this is the case. Okay? Words that signal time or sequence. We talked about this a little bit. First, second, finally, last. Afterward, after, during, and so forth. And look at the example. To build a good financial foundation, first pay yourself in the form of savings and then pay your bills. Okay, so it's telling you in what order to do something. A lot of history books, we talked about chronological order. Remember chronological order? Chrono means time, logical time. So in the order that it happened. That's a lot of what this is. History books are you would have to have a history book in some kind of chronological order or you would never be able to keep up with it. Okay? Fourth is comparison. Words that are similar or talk about similarities. Look at the example. If you treat someone with kindness, he or she will probably treat you with kindness. Likewise, there's your word. If you treat someone with disrespect, you'll probably be disrespected. It's telling you by the same token, this is going to happen. All right, look at the next one. Portland is a port city in Oregon. Similarly, all right, it is a seaport in Maine. Similarly means a lot like it. So that's comparison. Contrast, just the opposite. However, on the contrary, even though, but, conversely, although, yet, in contrast, signals how things are different. Look at your examples down here at the very bottom of 293. Using a knife to cut a bagel can be dangerous to the fingers. On the other hand, using a bagel holder keeps fingers safe from the falling blade. Okay? Safe from the falling blade. So that's two different things that are opposite. Look at the second example. Today, many families eat dinner separately and on the run. Whereas, in the past, the family dinner hour was a time for bonding and an opportunity to instill values or share dreams. So that's talking about opposites. Pretty simple, I think, for you guys, okay? Words that signal cause and effect, okay? One thing is the cause of or the result of something happening, okay? Thus, accordingly, consequently, because, therefore, so, as a result, and hence. Okay? Those are all words that signal cause and effect. Look at the examples about the middle of page 294. Because of his work to end apartheid in South Africa, Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison. Upon his release, Mandela treated his oppressors with respect and worked to unite the country. Consequently, okay, because he did these things, he shared a Nobel Peace Prize with them, with then-President Frederick Willem de Klerk. It told you what's going on here, what was happening, and why one thing caused another. Look on your reader's tip on the top of page 294. Those are the transitions we just talked about and their functions. Okay? So that will help you. Now we're coming to an exercise. This is anticipating transitions, not transactions. These 14 sentences with a blank in them need a transition in them. Okay, and you're trying to do different things with the different transitions. So you need to understand the relationship between the two phrases or the two sentences or however it's laid out. Okay, so look at exercise 6.1 on page 294. Okay, you have a yellow little thin box with 5 words in it. You have another 2 of them on the next page. For the 5 fill in the blanks after the first one, use one of those words to fill in the blank to make a good transition. And I ask that you don't use the same word twice, okay? Then for the next little yellow box, long yellow block there, box, you have 5 more words. Use those to fill in the 5 sentences after that. Again, don't use the same transitions twice. You have to think about what you're trying to do with each one of these in order to get this correct. So take your time, work on this. I'm going to let you pause the video, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more.